African Americans are really part of that. You feel me? So we excited. We're like, yo, Gaddafi was trying to get down with this, and the African nations gonna get together. And I'm here looking like I don't even feel like I'm part of that shit. You feel me? Like I'm celebrating, but I ain't really feeling it because I don't see where we at. You know, and I'm not telling them don't unite. That'd be, you know, yeah, we'd be good money if they unite, I believe. But at the same rate, what's up with the brother in the hood and the projects? Like, niggas are still in the peace over here. When the African Union get together, niggas still gonna be in the peace. So we gotta come up with something. So I'm not trying to knock them, but this whole concept of let's just go back to Africa is kind of weird because I don't think we're gonna be received the way we envision. You say let's just go back to Africa. I'm like, who gonna accept the American Negro here that couldn't fix his in the peace over here? When the African Union get together, niggas still gonna be in the peace. So we gotta come up with something. So I'm not trying to knock them, but this whole concept of let's just go back to Africa is kind of weird because Africa is kind of weird because I don't think we're gonna be received the way we envision. You say let's just go back to Africa. I'm like, who gonna accept the American Negro here that couldn't fix his problems and then go over there and embrace us like we got the answers to the world because we've been reading books? A lot of what we even think about Africa is different from the way Africans see Africa. You see, when you don't live in Africa and you live in America and you learn about Africa in America, it's very different from you being in Africa, learning about Africa, and then encountering someone from America. So that's another paradigm shift we're gonna have to undergo. We gotta travel first so we can see where the misconceptions coming.
A brother told me, we was talking about the debate, and a brother told me one time, and I'm gonna get your opinion on it. The brother said that a true esoteric will never debate religion because at the end of the day, whether it's Islam, Judaism, or Christianity, the esoteric meaning is all the same.
Man, that's esoteric bullshit, man.
Explain that.
That's crazy. Listen, if that same person likes sports, you're gonna see a battle, a certain exchange take place. You feel me? Competition is always going to take place. How you going to have a conscious community and say it's okay for everyone to think about different things, but not have them go into a dialogue, have a forum set for them to exchange their ideas. Now you see, if we go into the forum to tear each other down because we hate each other, I don't agree with that. But nonetheless, we need to have a forum for people to reconcile these situations or to at least vent their frustrations intellectually about what they disagree with. When we have doctrinal indifferences, you shouldn't walk around here pretending like I don't believe what I believe about you and you don't believe what you believe about me. What we should do is give each other the opportunity and a controlled environment to display or showcase what we've learned about ourselves and what we think about each other, because in that there will be growth. You see, if a family has a grievance to what we should have in a common to our original African archetype, we'd have a family meeting. Or we have a tribunal that belongs to us, beholden to the village, where both parties can talk and have a conversation. When we talk about going to court and fight for our rights, and someone says objection, someone says overruled, and someone says sustained, it's the same type of functionality. So I believe the person who thinks that means well. I will tell you that on the real. I know I said it's esoteric bullshit because I come off like that, because it's necessary for certain people that's listening. But at the same rate, with all due respect, what I would say here to retract it or to reconstruct my answer, I would say I believe that person means well, but we can't be getting weak-hearted when it's time for a disagreement. In fact, if you can't bitter the taste of someone else disagreeing with your doctrine, you shouldn't even be part of a doctrine in the first place, because that's where the growth comes in. Because if anything, someone can help you tape up your presentation to make sure that the pessimist can receive you. Because if you don't get someone to challenge your views, you might be preaching to the choir, and after a while, you just start slipping, start making shit up after a while. You need somebody to question you on the things that you're saying,
right? So
you can sharpen up, and then it also qualifies you as a teacher, because you know, I gotta come correct. Because this forum was created in such a way that if I have been making things up, someone could call me on it and I lose credibility. Don't you want your leaders to go against the best so that they can cultivate the leadership within them, so they can lead and deliver us in a more functional and qualified way? You see, so what this is a rites of passage for me.
Right.
Having debates is a rites of passage. I'm not talking about the debate where we denigrate each other's character and we tear each other down, and it's just nothing but condemnation. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about a healthy symposium where people get together and gather as a conscious collective to hear contrasting views and find a way to understand both of them to see how it could improve their respective dispositions. That's what I'm talking to you about. And that is always going to be healthy for our people, because on the real, there's no other environment where some of us really get a chance to listen to the other side unless there's a debate. Like, people are not going to walk in and say, I want to go to the Hebrew Israelite temple today to learn what they're about. That's been destroying us for quite some time. The single mother paradigm has afflicted our youth. I'm trying to get the detractors as I'm talking.
Right.
What I'm saying is, this has become a part of our culture that's been destroying us for quite some time. The single mother paradigm has afflicted our youth and has afflicted the female, to which end she can't even have a functional relationship afterwards, because she has had to take on our black male responsibility and her black woman responsibility simultaneously. And if you run those two gender principles concurrent, it's going to be a centrifuge for chaos. So I don't condone this Happy Mother's Day, Mom.
Happy Father's Day, Mom.
Happy Father's Day, Mom.
Right,
I don't support that. That's just insane. You know, it's nothing to be happy about. See, just hearing in the words, Happy Father's Day, Mom. You know, that's just that's insane.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing to be happy about. Your daddy's missing. There's nothing to be happy about that. Give her a Mama's Day card on Mother's Day. You know, don't shit on the men any further on Father's Day. And that's another thing we got to do. When the men and the women have an issue amongst each other, we got to find a way to keep the children out of the situation. It's not right. It's improper. And the problem is, first of all, when the men and the women have an issue amongst each other, we got to find a way to keep the children out of the situation. When the men and the women have an issue amongst each other, we got to find a way to keep the children out of the situation. It's not right. It's improper. And the problem is, first of all, we don't have a way to learn how to engage each other. If you never learned how to engage the opposite sex, you never learn how to separate from the opposite sex. We are the worst people at getting together, and even worse at separating. We have to learn how to separate. And a lot of focus is on trying to get a woman and trying to get a man. Yeah. We have to learn how to separate healthy, because that's killing us.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? We gotta learn how to separate from each other healthy, because our reference point for how to get the opposite sex is predicated upon what we saw when we grew up. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I grew up in a household where my father was gone and my mother was gone. My father left me at age 8. My mom died the week I met her when I turned 17. I have no reference point. I didn't grow up seeing a mommy and a daddy together in a relationship. My grandmother wasn't with her man, though he was alive and she was alive. And her son, my father, wasn't with his wife. So as a young man, I have no reference for how to get a woman, how to deal with a family problem, how to raise children. My parents are gone. So how am I going to use the information I grew up with if it wasn't accessible to now get into a relationship myself? You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So when I got into this world and I seen a beautiful woman, I took advantage of her. I disrespected her, because my only reference for a relationship came from the streets when I joined the gangs.
Right.
You feel me? Those are the people that taught me, because I didn't get to grow up in a house to see it for myself, working, a work in progress. Didn't have to be perfect, but I didn't get to see it at all. So the only place that I could get a reference from was the media, in the form of music, in the form of television, and then when I hit the streets, which is relevant every day of the week. See, that's perplexing. So the reason why we have this problem today, the main reason we have this problem today, is because we don't even have a reference when we're young for the behavior between a man and a woman, when they're in problems or when they're in harmony. Many of us didn't even grow up to see. The main reason we have this problem today is because we don't even have a reference when we're young for the behavior between a man and a woman, when they're in problems or when they're in harmony. Many of us didn't even grow up to see.
That's why the law, statutes, and commandments is so important, because a lot of us never have healthy families. We still don't got healthy families. But these laws, statutes, and commandments give you a foundation. And you can understand what is hijacked and what is factual. So we must regain our foundation and start to heal, both man and female, adult and child.
See it. So how you gonna knock us if we never seen it before? We winging this shit every day we go. Every day I talk to my wives and we dealing with our children and we can find some contentions and within our household. I say, yo, take it easy on yourself, take it easy on me. They put too much pressure on me. I said, take it easy on me. All of us winging this shit. Ain't none of us grew up with our pops. We don't even know how it looks for a mother and a father to be in a household together. So we can't be doing that bad. We've been together for this long. I've been with my first wife for 16 years. March 9th. This last March 9th was 16 years.
Yeah.
I've been with her since a teenager. You feel me?
Yeah.
But that's just something special because that wasn't learned behavior, and we didn't have the harmonious relationship that we have today. I'm just blessed that we were able to grow with each other. You feel me? So, and I want to say peace to my God right here. Come through. The Super Bowl champ, newest new Covenant member. You know, we got Meta World Peace, NBA champion. Now we got Super Bowl.
Right.
Over here, New York Giants wide receiver. You know what I'm saying? Ramses.
What made you join New Covenant, brother?
The energy was pulled. You know, I saw enough of my brother Polight that, you know, my first response was kindred spirit.
Yeah.
It's a brother that I haven't met yet, but there's something about how he accesses information, how he delivers information, how he understands things, how he reacts to the vibrations that come through him that is reminiscent of what I felt in my life. And he's done a job in harnessing that information, delivering it back to the people it's been most appropriate for. And I appreciate that because that's something that I am doing in my own walk. Mm-hmm. So I'm learning from him in so very many ways. And, you know, like mine, we find each other, we meet up, and we continue to build it, whether it's each one teach one, or it's just people working on in different parts of the world for a similar mission in their own path and their own walk. So I watched the UFO conference, the first annual UFO conference put on by New Covenant and Sun and the TV and all that stuff, House of Consciousness. So I watched to check out Dr. Delbert Blair and Dr. Phil Valentine, who both of those guys are, you know, the elders who I've learned a lot from. But, you know, there's a new generation of things coming along and people coming along who have new, more progressive, adding the old with new information to share. And when I saw him speak, there was something very humbling for myself, and there was something very motivating as well. So
I appreciate y'all, Meta World Peace, Udah, because they're in a great position and they
all Armor City's been.
So the conditions are different, but of course, let's not do nothing because we're going to lose anyway.
Well, the focus is the conditions are different, but is the so-called oppressor different? This is the same oppressor. Nothing has changed from them.
If the liberator changes, the oppression changes. You hear what I'm saying?
That's good.
Once the liberation movement changes, the oppressor has to change his. But our problem is we've been trying to make adjustments based on the oppressor.
Right.
We make the oppressor world go round, not the other way. You feel me? We're the one that empowers or puts the fuel into the vehicle that's called white supremacy.
Right.
Well, we decline from patronizing them. They will have no supremacy whatsoever. Just what we do on sneakers alone. Supremacy whatsoever. Just what we do on sneakers alone empowers, enforces, and puts the fuel in the vehicle of white supremacy. Just what we spend on sneakers alone.
Right.
I mean, it's not that difficult. Just what we do in having our children born in their hospitals. Do in having our children born in their hospitals. Doing having our children born in their hospitals is the impetus for white supremacy. So you see, it really don't even take that much money. What it takes is a certain level of education so we can decline. Take that much money. What it takes is a certain level of education so we can decline from using them as a primary resource to help each other. There's nothing stopping us from producing our own sneakers and our own shoes. There's nothing stopping us from having our own home births. You see, these are practical things that don't cost us much or little to nothing. It's not illegal to homeschool. So we have home births and we homeschool, we be knocking out a big portion of what they call white supremacy. And if we understand the real estate market a lot more, then we'll be knocking out 1/3 of their gross domestic product. Do you know 1/3 of all the income or revenue that is generated by the United States of America comes from real estate in the form of foreclosures and mortgage, debt obligations, and financing? So we would have find a way, and we're the least likely to get a house and the most likely to lose it. 1/3 of their economy is predicated upon us being hoodwinked by debt obligations as they hypothecate the mortgages so they can solicit the sale of the debt that you go into, which means everyone else is making money off of your debt obligation except for you. And even when they foreclose on you, the promissory note affixed to the mortgage note, the debt obligation, is still being made as a profitable instrument on behalf of the first person or first financial institution that sold you the property in a conditional interest as a debtor via UCC 9-105 in parentheses D, where a debtor can only conditionally own property. So you see, what we're talking to you about is when you get your property or you acquire your asset, that you establish a perfected claim, thereby reaffirming your land of the crown doctrine. Your property becomes your crown once you establish a perfected claim. That, in its best sense and in its purest form and essence, is the closest you will get to actually completely owning your property, by establishing a perfected claim, which is a form of a lien that a secured party creditor would conduct so they would not be ostracized or alienated as a consumer in this American populace. See, these are things that we have to learn, because what? It makes it cheaper for us. Or you could divest your time and your energy into paying for a fixed rate mortgage that goes for a duration of 30 years, and you'll have to pay for something for 30 years for the rest of your life. See, I'm 30 years old, and I'm gonna tell you, I've been telling the old heads in my family when I was coming up, and they always thought I was disrespectful. But I told them, one day I'm gonna put something powerful together, and you're gonna see how us young celebrities, you're gonna see how the young hip-hoppers, you're gonna see we're gonna have a youthful movement with the support of the elders. Today is called New Covenant. We're gonna make a change. And the reason why I'm saying this is, I watched my grandmother work for a phone company for 40 years and got a pension that gives her $2,000 every 2 weeks, $4,000 a month. You feel me? $48,000 a year. This is the most that they can give her for building someone else's construct, someone else's vision. You know how much white children she sent to school off of her labor? And they giving her $2,000 when she retired, and she died a few years after because the lifetime expectancy is 72. She worked a little longer to about 66, 67 to get more benefits. And you got me watching her with her back hurting, going to work for 40 years before I was born and while I was alive, waiting for Jesus to come. Had a house foreclosed upon and barely had enough in her pension after she worked for someone for 40 years to feed her family as a black woman that became a homeowner in her own right, still lost the crib, and at the end of working for someone for 40 years, all she can be given is $2,000 every 2 weeks for her pension. And you think I'm gonna follow that shit? I love my grandmother, and I would never let her hear me curse this right now as she passed. But there's no way I will follow in her path, and no one else's path in my family that don't mind working till 65, 66, 67. I don't mind if it's gonna send black children to school in the process of me feeding my family. But if I'm feeding another racist family for 30 years, 40 years, so I could retire around 66, 67, and the lifetime expectancy be 72, so I only got 5 years left, and most people that retire die from boredom any damn way the first 2 years. What kind of life is that? I'm looking to retire in 2-3 years from now. I want to enjoy my youth. I already sacrificed too much of it teaching. You know what the homies is doing at age 30? They're recovering from last night. Today's Sunday. You know what I'm doing? I'm studying. I'm preparing for a debate. You know what the homies is doing at my age at 30? You know what's inside of their system right now? And they calling it having fun. So I already sacrificed a lot of my youth, but I have to because I got children. And your children, some is look like we busting her and somebody who got born, but we are supposed to answer our children's prayers, man. From the time a woman is born, she's born with all the ovate cells she will ever have. This means she's born with all the potential children she will ever have. children go through 3 months inception, 3 perfect ovulations, and then 9 months conception. So they really 1 year old by the time they come out. They went through a 12-month process. It's already been ordained for us to be here in the answer to the prayers and the callings of our children. We are the prophets of our children. They are the revelation. We are the prophets. We can't sit here and know another generation comes behind us. It's like being in part of a presidency and someone made a lot of mess and it's a big debt, and then I got to come in to be president and clean up someone else's mess, and everybody start thinking the mess is on me.
Right.
Black people got to stop thinking this mess is on them, per se. We walked into this mess, and I ain't even calling out white folks at this particular time. I'm talking to us brothers and our sisters. We got to put something together because we got all this knowledge. We said we built the pyramids. We said it's a 32-degree line and latitude where the pyramids are all on the same line. We are the fathers and the mothers of math and science. We did all of this, but we can't escape poverty. Like seriously, at the end of the day, it's the white man's the devil. Now I'm in conflict. Now I'm in conflict. Are you going to teach me that I'm God and I'm cream of the universe and I created all this and I'm the mother and the father of mathematics and science as it relates to my race? You're going to tell me that we built the pyramids and we lined them up, Khufu, Khafre, and Menku Are with Alni Lam, Alni Taka, Mentaka. You're going to say that we did these things. And the Sphinx was linked and facing in the direction of the pyramids, and you could correspond the Sphinx with the Leo constellation. And the Nile River corresponds with the Milky Way. And the pyramids of Giza correspond with the Belt of Orion. And all this wasn't by chance. This was because we're brilliant, because we're gods, or the offspring of gods. But when it comes down to why we're in a fucked up situation today, it's because the white man, that's just a contradiction. There ain't no fucking white supremacy. That's nigga shit right there. White people can't be supreme. The fuck you talking about? How could we be under white supremacy after you gave me all the lessons? I believe those lessons. So now I'm taking them and I'm running with them. If I'm God, the reason why this shit's fucked up is because it's on me. I gotta make the change. That's the shit that I'm on right now. I'm not, and anybody that I teach has to know, no white folks have a say in what brought us down. After I done became after our race has become the mother and the father of math and science and built pyramids and they aligned with all these different constellations, it comes down to the white man's the reason why we in this situation. Nigga, you full of shit. And that's why the youth is going to be the one to take this to the next level. Elders, I'm asking you, get your walkers and catch up. Get your wheelchairs and catch up. And this ain't disrespectful. I'm talking to you have elders and you have olders. You have sheiks and you have people that's just shaky. You feel me? So I'm talking to those people that slow rolling in our liberation. That's what I'm talking about. Stay closer, baby. I'm talking about people that slow motion in this liberation movement. Stop feeding us slow. Then I understand. Because you know what? One of the best things that work to us, to our better advantage in the world, as a youth, is our ignorance. Blessed to be fucking ignorant. I'm gonna tell you why. We blessed to be ignorant because we wasn't there when people got hosed down. We wasn't there when the woman got tied to the 2 horses and pulled apart and the baby came out. We wasn't there when we got lynched, raped, and castrated. One of the best things that works to the advantage of the younger generation is that we're not plagued by the perception of these things transpiring right before our eyes. So when they try to explain to us, it's just an explanation, it's just a picture. So I don't know what I'm getting myself into when I'm trying to be a freedom fighter. That's one of the most luckiest things we got working for us, because a lot of the elders are scared as shit. A lot of the elders are scared to death. You mention white man, they cringe. Trust me, they'll fold and they'll join them before they even try to do anything to free themselves. They're scared. And I'm saying probably the best thing that happened to us as a youth is that hip-hop has taken our mind into the possibilities of being great. We're gonna be rich forever. This shit is empowering. I listen to that now because it empowers me. It's rebellious. I need to be rebellious. Don't tell me about, but what if the white man takes your house after you get it? Ain't no nigga think about that. Let's get it. Well, guess what's gonna happen? If a bunch of us get that house and someone takes it, we gonna fight. So let's get everybody in a position to get their house and get their gold. Because this generation, I'm telling you, something about us, we ain't about to let no one take our gold in the house. See, during slavery, we didn't really have shit, and the little we had, they took. But in this generation, niggas is driving Maybachs and shit. You think this white man can enforce that same shit on niggas? You crazy. We got even better arms than they had back in the day. The niggas is carrying shit bigger than with the Jakes. There's some young man on Facebook, and it was crazy because he posted this shit on Instagram and everything. They locked him up. My nephew know his name. Nigga have a rocket launcher. What the fuck is he doing with a rocket launcher? So I'm saying, just think about what they doing in Chirac. And you think when them boys start really eating, especially if they got what they get righteously, you think if they give up the trap teachings and learn, how to get their property and their wealth in a righteous manner, you think that they putting up their rocket launcher? No, that shit is always gonna be there. Cause I know myself, I always reserve a certain level of nigga in me, just in case I have to come back out with the shit. I'm never letting the whole nigga go. My inner nigga is gonna be here for the rest of my life. Cause somebody gonna front eventually, and I'm gonna have to summon him. But that's not for my people. That's for the actual enemy. And that's where our state of mind gotta be. So I'm telling you that the best thing that can happen to us as a youth is our ignorance. It's one of the best things that ever happened to us is not knowing. So when you try to instill fear in us, we like, man, I hear you, but like I told you, my grandmother worked 40 years for 9X phone company, and she only got $2,000 every 2 weeks. Are you kidding me? And then she retires at around 67, and she dies at like 72. So she only had 5 years of freedom, and with that freedom, she was getting $2,000 every week after working for somebody for 40 years and sending how many white children to school from her labor? And I love my grandmother. I will never follow after her. I swear to you. That was my mom's. I'll never follow that. And you can't be mad at me out there for not wanting to follow that. And you shouldn't be mad at none of the youth for not wanting to follow that. I would be mad at the youth if they tried to follow in those footsteps. We wasn't designed to be poor. When I study our history, whether it was the Moors in Spain, whether it was the ancient Egyptians, the Tamarans, they always had gold, they always had silver, they was always balling out, they always had chinchillas. You studied the Nation of Islam back in the days, them niggas was fly. They was always getting go. We ain't never had an era where we was on a come up and we was broke at the same time. You can't show me one place in history where we were broke when we was on our come up. Niggas always erasing the money aspect of the information. So now I'm here, what I'm doing, and it's sacrilegious.
Why is that? Why are they always erasing the money aspect? Why is that?
Because religion made it bad to receive in this life. We're supposed to get our rewards after, when we die. The poor shall inherit the world.
Do you think you...
What profit a man who gain the whole world, he lose soul? You know? Niggas always erasing the money aspect of the information. So now I'm here, what I'm doing, and it's sacrilegious.
Why is that? Why are they always erasing the money aspect? Why is that?
Religion made it bad to receive in this life. We're supposed to get our rewards after.
Boom. That's what it is. The Hebrew teachings teach that if you follow the law, statutes, and commandments, you get your reward right now. You get your communities, you get your kingdoms right now. But then religion tells you, no, suffer, and you'll get your reward in the next in heaven. He's right on there with that one.
Why is that? Why are they always erasing the money aspect? Why is that?
Religion made it bad to receive in this life. We're supposed to get our rewards after, when we die.
Like in the Torah, it says you have to get paid at the end of the day, or you got to pay your worker at the end of the day. So we always have money. Now they say you pay them in 2 to 3 weeks, and then sometimes you get stiffed. You see how the way it works, like it's so unjust. And every ancient laws that we had to keep things just, we're not holding on to those, and we actually trying to prove them wrong. And we're having fun in this society where we don't treat each other good, and we don't build our communities.
The poor shall inherit the world.
Do you think you...
What profit a man who gain the whole world, he lose soul? You know, all this other, and I hear you, and I understand what you're saying, right? But where's the scripture that says you should make some money? Because if you don't, you are not going to be able to help your family.
You think you talk too materialistic sometimes?
I think I talk about materialization. I think people call it materialistic. I'm saying if I see me in a big house one day and I get it, that's not materialistic, that's materialization. Because I conceptualized it first. It was incorporeal, it was intangible. It starts with a subjective thought, and then I objectify it, and then it materializes. When my conceptions materialize, it couldn't possibly be materialistic. You should be a witness that God makes something manifest.
Right.
So I can,
right.
So it's not materialistic, it's materialization. We got the wrong word. But you see, that doctrine is created by people who haven't tapped into their creativity. So they're upset when they see other people demonstrate it. That's all that's about. This is to have is one of the most spiritual things you can ever do on planet Earth. In fact, if you're not having, you're not even as spiritual as you claim or profess to be.
Add on to
Add on, Red.
And as a people, we are the original haves.
That's right.
That's the dilemma.
The haves and the have-nots.
Yeah. And the dilemma that we have is we've been conquered by the have-nots. You have to remember.
That's right.
Geographically, these people come from a place where the trees were barren. There were no things. There were not bundles of fruits growing on the trees. They did not have wealth in the land. They were not. It wasn't gold in the streams. That's like they found.
Tuesday, the haves and the have-nots.
Okay, the war between the haves and the have-nots. So they've completely flipped it. Now we in the peas and whatnot.
Wow.
Pissy mattresses, government cheese. You feel what I'm saying?
And becoming complacent.
Living with roaches and shit.
Real talk.
And in your church, it teaches you that you were the have-not. And in your school, through the education system, because they falsified the teachers, they did not tell them. They didn't teach our babies that no. You came out of Africa and raised us up. You took us out of the dark ages and brought the age of enlightenment. You taught us agriculture. You taught us architecture. You taught us quote unquote Tonto or the Indian from Mexico.